Hey, this is Joseph Vallejo, the big kahuna behind Vikings versus Samurai. And in 1 second, or a couple seconds, we are going to talk to Aaron Wroblewski, the creator of Blood and Fire, and more recently, Ice and Bone. So let me send out an invitation so he can join. Sending an invitation, no request to join. Wait, hold on. What is going on? Fingers crossed. Let's see if this works. We tried to do this earlier. It didn't work. And then we switched to Zoom, and that didn't work.
Did it work? Did it?
Hey, you're there,
Yes!
Aaron. We did it.
Finally.
So, you are in Kentucky, is that right? And now I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. So, are you in Kentucky, is that right?
Yes, I'm in Kentucky.
All right. So, I'm in sunny San Diego. It's a little warm today, but it's not very humid. How's the weather over there?
Hot, humid, like Satan's butt.
Well, I feel sorry for you. You know what? I don't want to bore the viewers with talk about weather. That's really not something I want to do. What I want to talk to you is about Blood and Fire, Ice and Bone, and Enren. Is that how you say it?
Enenra.
Enenra. All right. So let's start off with Blood and Fire because that's how I first came across you. Instagram with its infinite wisdom, with its algorithm, said, "Hey, you might be interested in Blood and Fire," and of course I was. I really love the artwork, and of course the topic matter of samurai is very near and dear to me. So of course I subscribed, and we got to chatting, and we talked like a month or two ago. But I thought, you know what? Let's introduce the people who follow me to you, so they can follow you, and vice versa, and all that. And also, so I can pick your brain. So surface level, tell us about Blood and Fire, and as I said more recently, Ice and Bone.
Blood and Fire kind of came about really kind of out of the blue because the artist worked on Enenra first time on, and he posted this kick-ass samurai image on his Instagram, and I liked it and commented this would make a really cool character for a graphic novel, and he just write one. So I started writing a samurai themed storyline. I put a bit of horror, supernatural spin on it because it's me. That's what I do. And it kind of wrote itself really, really quick. It was supposed to be a standalone 3-issue. So there is a kind of finite end to Blood and Fire, but I kind of wanted to add a few bit of extra storyline. So that's where Ice and Bone came out of.
All right, so that's the story behind the story, but what's the story itself? Give us the broad strokes.
The storyline itself it follows Nakaki, who is a very family-oriented, very honorable samurai. He follows his master, who there's 3 brothers. There's his master, who's like second in line, and the eldest is really sick, has been for very months. And then when he passes away, obviously the next one in line to rule is Nakaki's master. Unfortunately, the younger brother is a bit of a dick, and he wants to rule. He's very ambitious. He's kind of slighted that he's been overlooked all his life. So they when they go to the brother's kind of funeral, they're betrayed, and all hell breaks loose.
So you set this in the 16th century, and I'm curious about that because
Yes.
currently my story is set in the 13th century, just because there's an overlap between Vikings versus Samurai, and I had to sort of fudge the timeline a little bit. I'm thinking about changing it because 13th century Samurai is not the Samurai that we sort of know in media. So why the 16th century?
It kind of sit really well with my storyline because I wanted the country to be kind of chaotic. There's no, the central government has kind of lost control. There's no real structure to the country at the time. All the warlords are kind of fighting each other, trying to gain power. So that's kind of so they get away with it. Really, they kind of go to war, and no one really cares because they're too busy looking after themselves. So that's why I kind of wanted to say, kind of ground it as much as I can, being obviously a supernatural elements get involved, and there's a lot more of that in Ice and Bone. And so that's the kind of reason why I kind of set it in that timeline.
So another thing I'm curious about is how much research that you had to do and how much research did your artist have to do and what were some of the difficulties? Like for me, for example, just as something to hook onto is what the rank and file of samurai would actually wear, because I don't know. I just watch movies, but I don't know what the significance is. This is a private, is this a sergeant, is this a general? How do you convey that? So that's an
Yeah.
example of the difficulties I run into.
From what I've for our conversations, I think you've done a lot more research than I have.
Yeah.
um, I researched a little bit, not really that far deep into it because I kind of like to give Ezequiel a kind of freedom to do his own spin on things, and he's amazing. I can't fault him at all. I mean, he literally drew the entire Ice and Bone, the whole issue, and gave it to me. And I think I changed one panel and the entire
Wow.
story. So I'm like, okay, he's pretty much nailed it down. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to the rest of it. Yeah, I did more research for Ice and Bone purely because I wanted the supernatural elements. I wanted a bit more myth and legends in the area.
Mm-hmm.
So that comes into it. But for the first one, I researched the kind of the time zone a bit, but for like authenticity of the what they wore and stuff, not really so much because I think it's kind of generic. What the artwork is kind of more generic kind of samurai feel, and the feel of it. It, I think it kind of nails the area and the time zone, but it's not. I wouldn't say it's like dead seriously accurate to like what he wore and like certain you know like emblems or kind of family insignias and things like that. So I didn't really dive into that deep.
I'm doing a little bit of research in the mythology of Japanese culture myself. I have to shift gears because right now I'm sort of leaning on the Viking side. But let's talk about your artist, your illustrator, Ezequiel Rubio Lando. Do I get that right?
Yep, very good.
So, how did you two come in each other's orbits? How did you start working together?
Very random. Because I actually wrote Enenra as a TV series. Um, so I had it all plotted out, the Bible, everything. I joined an agency to kind of shop it around. Unfortunately, didn't really gain any traction because I'm like Mr. Nobody. Netflix is going to sign me up. But one of the agents actually said it would make a kick-ass graphic novel, and on their books was Ezequiel. He was doing like artwork for them, and we got chatted. That's why the first issue took so long because he actually went off the TV script. It wasn't a comic strip, so it
Mm.
was like back and forth, kind of. No, I wanted this, not that, blah blah blah. Um, so then, yeah, after that, I kind of rewrote everything as a comic, and it's a lot more streamlined now. But yeah, that's how we started. It was very random meeting, and I think we've been together now over 10 years. It's been like our longest professional relationship I've had.
Have you two
So yeah,
actually
it's
met?
been good.
Have you two actually ever met face to face?
No, no, we haven't met. I think we briefly did a Skype in the first year. After that, it's just been emails.
So that was my other question because my illustrator, Booger, he's in Istanbul. So we've talked once or twice, but mostly it's emails or instant messages.
Yeah,
But when you are working a project together, how thoroughly do you collaborate, or do you just mostly send them a script and notes in an email?
I just well, in my scripts, I'll have like reference images, like stuff I found online. Like just to kind of help him kind of visualize what I'm looking for. Um, like if it's a certain uh, like character look, or like clothing, like for the samurai, or like a building or like a mountain with the rivers. Something kind of generic online, I can kind of give them a kind of nice snapshot. But primarily, since we've been working so much together, it's literally just the script. I send him like a little paragraph, and he creates magic.
Same here. You know, I trust Illustrator to know what they do and that they will visually tell the story better than I can imagine. So
Yeah,
one of the things I really like about Ezequiel is he works in kind of a monochromatic color palette,
yeah,
but he'll
yeah.
really punch an image with color here and there. Was that his decision, or is that something you arrived together on that idea?
The ice and bone was really kind of his. There's only two things I wanted. There was the blood to be kind of like in your face, and there's a bit of extra kind of supernatural elements, which is like that's where the ice comes from. So that's going to be more emphasized in the blues and things. Um, but the actual color palette itself, that's all him. That's really he
Yeah,
nailed it. I mean, the
yeah,
blood and fire is amazing, and he hasn't skimped on the quality. And Ice and Bone, he's probably upped it, to be honest.
yeah, it's brilliant.
With the details, yeah, it's amazing. So can't wait for number two. Hopefully, towards the end of the year, or very beginning of next year, I'll be launching issue two.
All right, so this is released by Red 5 Comics. So how did that relationship begin?
Through an ender as well.
Oh,
They
all right.
messaged me, yeah, because I've already got a publisher, Marcosia. They messaged us saying, do you have a publisher in the US? And I said, well, unfortunately, I do have a publisher already, but I'm releasing Blood and Fire in a couple of weeks. Sent them the script. They were like really into it, like the artwork because I had like a 8-page teaser artwork done for the Kickstarter. They pretty much tried to sign me on straight away. And I believe when Blood and Fire came out into the stores, it sold out. They had to quickly get a emergency 200 extra, which I was like, does that happen?
Oh, that's going to be immensely satisfying.
Yes, I was deeply chuffed. I think I had a big smile, cheesy smile on my face all day.
So we have a comment here. Let's see if I can pull it down. A nerd from Brooklyn. Well, that's a nice name. Hi, a nerd from Brooklyn. He says that he's bummed out that he missed the Blood and Fire Kickstarter, but he was happy to get the regular release. Hey, Ezequiel is here. Oh, man, do you think I should invite
Oh,
Ezequiel to
cool.
join us? Ezequiel,
It could.
can we invite you to join our conversation just for a minute or two? Just, mention a
Could be a
comic
shy
before.
guy though. I don't know.
It's okay. And we might even
Yeah,
have the same problem that we did last time. So we'll see. So
yeah,
you've been working.
yeah. I would say the Kickstarter is bigger. I do a magazine size, so it's like 8.5 by 10. Where obviously in the stores it's just a normal size. So that's one thing difference between the Kickstarter and the main release.
So you introduced me to a bunch of folks on Facebook groups who are involved in Kickstarter. So knowing what you know now, when it comes to writing and producing a comic book and finding them on Kickstarter, what's some advice you could pass down to someone like, say, oh, I don't know, me?
um, Network. Find people, especially on Kickstarter, if you can back as many as you can, because when you back people, it gives people more, I would say, clarity that you're serious. Because obviously, if you've got, if it's your first Kickstarter but you haven't backed any, it's like, well, why should I back you if you've not, kind of gone into the community? Join Facebook groups, community groups. I'm a member of quite a few. They are amazing. They push. I mean, as Enenra, the last issue, funded in the last minute of the campaign.
Whoa.
Literally, I was watching it. I was panicking, and it was the last minute when it went over. And it wasn't if it wasn't for the comic community, I would not be pushing, getting it out there and uh, so I cannot fault them enough. They are the best. Whether you're a creator or a reader, I get messages from readers, really passionate. Um, So yeah, I would join Facebook groups, get onto podcasts and shows, just to get your name out there, really, to different audiences, and cross promote. If you can get, even if it's your first Kickstarter, first comic, if you get like 8 to 10 pages complete with a cover, you can create a PDF, and then you can give out the teaser to as freebies to other creators who will then pass it on to their backers, and then it kind of, it's like a snowball effect. When you get more and more people, reading your comic, there's a chance they're going to come back and support you.
So let's get into the production area of comic books, because originally you wrote Enenra as a movie script or a TV
Yep.
script, and then you had to adapt it to a comic book script. So knowing what you know now, what's some advice that you would pass down about how to write and produce a comic book?
Write it as a comic book first. Yeah, I mean, there's so many templates out there. Research. I think, to be honest, I think everyone does it slightly differently. So don't be kind of like, I have to do it this way, or nothing else. There is, people have different models, different setups, for their templates. I use Microsoft Word. Some people, I think, use Scribe. Is it Scriber? I mean,
Scrivener, yes.
that's the one. Um, so there's softwares you can use. Some people do, some people don't. Like I said, I just use Microsoft Word and just send the script off to the artists. But yeah, just research, ask advice. You can always get a editor. There's quite a few that do that for I don't know how much they cost, but you can send like 10 pages in. They can give you advice. So yeah, it's research, I suppose, is the big thing. Research and, like I said, networking. People give you good advice in the comic community. They will go through your Kickstarter page, say, right, move this, get rid of that, change this bit, and it makes it 100 times better.
So myself, I use Ulysses for writing. However, it's a subscription fee, but I feel like it's well worth it. And I use an app called Drafts, and otherwise, just use pen and paper and notes and things like that. But you
Yeah.
said that horror creeps into your writing, and I'm working on a science fiction horror graphic novel
Me
myself. Yeah, I'll
too.
tell you more about that. Oh, really? Oh, we're gonna have to bang
Yeah,
heads. That's another
definitely.
phone call. But I'm finding it challenging to write horror for a comic book. Now, I've never written a script for a movie or TV, but you can rely on certain elements for like camera angles and jump scares to, get people to jump out of their seats or, impart a sense of dread. But when it comes to a comic book, well, what do you do?
Yeah, it's hard, very hard. Because you either go two routes. You either go the gory route for horror, or the kind of the dark suspense. Like, because I've written a horror uh, graphic novel, which the first one issue was a sexual. I'm currently itching to get the second one out, um, and I've actually got some artwork for it. Hold on a sec.
Oh,
Um,
right.
and I go through the kind of like dark. There we go. There's the issue. Kind of shadowy kind of look, which Hernan Gonzalez is amazing. So this is the first cover, and then like kind of, I don't know if you can see it, kind of the
Yeah,
dark,
that's
shadowy kind
moody
of,
as hell. Oh man, that's
yeah.
beautiful.
So that's the kind of the way I go about it. Um, so it really depends on what kind of look you're going for. If you're going to go for the gory horror or more suspense, kind of thriller stuff. I tend towards the more, sometimes gory, but most of it is suspense, with the shadows, and I've been very fortunate to find Hernan, who is amazing.
Well, we'll talk more about horror on a later call. So this
I'm
is
sure.
something that's yeah. So this is something that's new to me. I'm sure not new to you at all. But when I find them, when I'm writing Vikings versus Samurai or the horror comic or anything else I'm working on, I what's revealed to me is I'm actually working through issues. Either it's an idea or I'm working through some sort of emotions. And it always surprised me. I'm like, where did this come from? Like, well, of course, that's what was behind it all along. Is this something you've encountered yourself?
Yeah, I mean, for me, most of it is the character writes itself. Um, that's what happened with Blood and Fire. It was really quick. I think I wrote the whole thing in like a week, maybe two. It was really quick because it just seemed to flow. It's probably the quickest I've actually written anything. Um, so yeah, you do get, emotionally tied to characters and things like that. Like the sci-fi horror I'm writing at the moment, you get favorite characters like, do I need to kill them? Do I need to kill them? But I don't want to. They're my favorite, but I have to kill them. So it's, you do get emotionally involved in the, and this is Game of Thrones, and I don't think he cares about anybody. He's like, kill, 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 kill.
Well, just my own example right here. The latest issue of Vikings versus Samurai, we introduce a character, Brunhilde, and she surprised me. She is now the protagonist of the story. I did not expect that when I first started working on it, but that's what has happened. And
Yeah.
I really don't want to kill her.
Well, you don't have to. Sometimes, they change and do something else. It's never black and white. I don't think. Characters are very, different shades of gray.
Well, that's also, I'm glad you mentioned that because a story that's going to come out in either September or October, I have a character named Otter. And when I began him, he was like out of Wagnerian opera. He was an Ubermensch, and he's not that anymore. He's much grittier. He's much more layered and much more complex, and he's really gone far astray from what I envisioned him. So I really have enjoyed that journey.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
So,
yeah. You never know really where the characters are going to go until it's ended.
So, if people want to learn more about you, or if they want to read more about your comic books, where can they go online? Where's the best place? And where can they follow you on social media? Where are you the most active?
Probably Facebook and Instagram. Instagram obviously is really great. It's a brilliant platform. I have Facebook pages, well, Facebook groups for all my series. So type in Blood and Fire, and it'll pop up. Same for Enenra and Armor Patris, which is the kind of exorcism horror. So if you like The Exorcist and things like that, it's right up your alley. So yeah, they're probably the best places to find me. Yeah, it's write me up on Instagram, and I'll point you in the right directions to my work.
Awesome. Well, Aaron, thanks for joining us. And before I get a dodge, I want to tell people once again, you can check out the latest issue of Vikings versus Samurai at vikingsvssamurai.com. Latest issue, we meet Brunhilde, and it's called Oath of Vengeance. You can find me on all the social medias. Before we go, Aaron, anything else we want to talk about? Anything we didn't cover while we were chatting?
Apart from the science fiction horror, that's for later. I think we got covered everything. I mean, check out the Vikings. It looks awesome.
Thank you. And everybody, check out Ice and Bone and Fire and Ice at your comic book store. And can you find it on like Omnibus, the comic book app, or Amazon's comic book app?
I
Comixology?
believe you can find, yeah, I think you can find Blood and Fire pretty much everywhere. It's all on the local, it's through Diamond. So I presume it's all in local stores and things like that. So you can order them anywhere.
All right. Aaron, thanks for joining us. And you have a great Saturday evening.
You
Stay cool.
too, man.
All right. Ciao.
Yeah, I'll try.
All right.